ASAP. What energy sent this email? What energy sent the email below it? Nope. 2 minutes? 2 minutes later. Some of you work with people like this, they make you crazy. If you can't think of anybody on your work team who does this, it's you. It's all in degrees, but if there isn't somebody doing it to you, you're the one doing it. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Heighten that level of awareness so that you know. I talked about intuition and sensing as the way we take in information. Let me show you where that sits on our model. How many of you, by the way, actually were able to print and bring your profiles here? Let's see. Good, because I'll just spend a few minutes on the graph and make sure that that makes sense to you as well. Because everything in there was self-explanatory, everything that was text-based, but the graphs don't make a ton of sense. So intuition and sensing, how we take in information about the world, it's not linear, which is why we wait and deliver it a little bit later like this. So it's not just where am I on the spectrum, because it sits in different positions on our model. Let me show you. Intuition is strongest in its extroverted sense. That's what Jung said. So over here, those of you that lead with red and yellow, and you see yourselves as being very extroverted, you are likely also quite intuitive, meaning you have a gut feel, you tend to just know things. There's a certain knowing that comes, and an ability to think more globally, maybe more futuristic, and it's on the extroverted side of our model. Excuse me, on the introverted side of the model is sensing. But again, it's not linear straight across. If you look at where sensing is strongest, it's introverted, but there's also a band of it here and here. So you may be someone who leads with extroverted thinking, red energy, and uses sensing as a way to collect information. You could be someone who leads with extroverted thinking energy, you could be someone who leads with intuition to collect information. Here's where intuition sits. Strongest in its extroverted sense, but also a band, both on the top and the bottom of our model in terms of introversion. And I know it's starting to feel maybe a little complicated, or you're starting to think it's a little complicated, but when we pull it together, it creates the basis, the makeup of what we call our insights wheel. The same four-quadrant model exists and sits on top of this, but if you look closely, it's the same introversion, extroversion, thinking and feeling, but intuition and sensing varies all the way around our model. This is simply a further delineation of that. And those of you that have the profile, if you want to take a look in that profile right now, and again, those of you that didn't have a chance to get online and take it, we'll keep that link open for 2 more weeks. We'd love you to jump online if you want to get the profile. What it will give you is 25 pages of who you are and what makes you tick, but it'll also show what we perceive to be the measurements of these amounts, of these 4 color energies that you have, conscious and less conscious. So it looks complicated, but there's only 2 things that determine your wheel position. And some of you have 1 dot like I have up here in my model. Some of you have 2. If you have 1 dot, it simply means your dots are on top of each other. Guess what? That puts you in the what you see is what you get category. Whether you're aware of your behavior or unaware of your behavior, your personalities are similar. For those of you that have the dots that are separate, it says when you're unaware and you lose track of yourself, whether it's because you're loving what you're doing or you might be under some stress, there might be a difference in your personality and how it's perceived by other people. So that's the 1 versus 2 dots. But if you look at our model, think of it as a wheel, and you can see the spokes. Each spoke is a different order of color energies. So there's 24 spokes, there's 24 possible combinations of the color energies, and the ring that you're in, the concentric ring, if you're in the innermost ring, you have 3 energies high and 1 low. If you're in the middle ring, in my example, that person's in the middle ring, you have 2 energies high and 2 low. We call it classic. Most people are there. If you're in the outermost ring, you have 1 energy very high, and the other 3 are low. Low means below the midpoint, so it could still be 49%. But again, within our model, 1 energy high and 3 low. So if you think about all of you that were able to get online and complete the assessment, this is what you look like. Take a look at this for a minute. What do you notice? Which color is represented the least? Red. Why?
They're too busy.
I didn't think anyone would answer, and I was going to say, I don't know. But it could be. What? What's that? Potentially didn't take it. Remember, this isn't everybody in the room. This is is only the 130 roughly of you that were able to jump online or chose to jump online and fill it out as well. I thought it was interesting, yes, because it's less in the red energy. It looks to be very busy and clustered in the yellow green energy as well. And then the blue energy is there, but it's a little more spread out, isn't it? There's 4 folks that came up in that outermost ring, which again we call focused. Only 10% of the profiles that we get are there. And we're not going to come out and try and find you. Because what does it mean? It means those folks are very gifted in leading blue energy. Blue energy high, 3 energies low. Not low off the charts. They could be 1%, they could be 49%. But it says that they have a gift of leading with blue energy. Analytical, cautious, precise. Every organization needs that. Every trainer needs that as well. Strategic, thoughtful, analytical. Think about whatever role it is that you play, and you might start to say, well, I'm in training and speaking. Yellow energy seems like it fits. Energetic, enthusiastic. Give me a mic, get on stage. But guess what? Blue energy, thoughtful, strategic, adding value, having some substance. That's blue energy. Green energy, making sure that the message is real, has meaning, fits the organization's goals. Red energy, what do you do with all this? What are the tasks? What are the action items? No matter what your role, all 4 energies are going to be called upon to do it well. What we can actually do at the end of the 2-week period, anybody else that's jumped in on this, we'll circulate this back. It might be interesting to see, hey, what's the makeup of AXTD? We did this with the board as well. I don't know if I know I've got some board members here. But wasn't it interesting to look at your small team and go, well, that's what we look like. We're all thinkers. You weren't, by the way, in that group. We do a lot of work with the medical and military. They are very often heavily skewed in the thinking side of the wheel. So you start to get a sense of, wouldn't it be neat if I could get an instant cultural snapshot of my 100 or 1,000 employees in a work team, or a division, or a department, or even an entire company. And in 2 seconds you can see right there, boom, that's who we are. Now, think about you as an individual. If you look at our model, and I don't know if you can see the numbers up here. The numbers are just to help you understand where the positions are in the model. But if I'm position 30, what do I notice about myself? I've got a lot of company. I've got a lot of folks just like me, kind of a comfort zone. Feels good, whether it's there, whether I'm over here in this yellow cluster as well. But what else do you notice right away? What if I'm up here? What if I'm that 15 in the room? There are parts of my personality that aren't quite in the mix of the cluster of what everyone else does. There's a brilliance of the uniqueness that I bring to the organization. And at times, I might even feel a tiny bit alienated because I'm a little out there. It's awesome to be able to get a quick graphic snapshot of where you are in that mix. What if you were down here in position 27 and 70 or 80% of your work team was up on the top half of the wheel? No wonder. No wonder I think all these folks care about is profits and tasks and process. And I'm all about the people, and I'm the only one that's all about the people. Well, not necessarily, but at times you can feel that way based on where you're at. So those of you that have the profile, what I'll share with you is there's sections in it that make sense that help you communicate. A couple of the key pages that I'll just point out, communications do's. It's a list of how to communicate with me. Short, sweet, easy, memorable, do it. What I will share with you is about 5 years ago, I've been involved with INSEX for 11 years now. My wife and I each did it and tore out that page and taped it on our fridge. It saved us $5 grand in counseling. Because we love to fight in the kitchen and we'd start to it, we'd look at the list and I'd be doing number 3 and she'd be doing number 2. And we'd realize, whoops, it's not the content, it's our personalities and how we come together. So imagine sitting down one-on-one with somebody on your work team and showing them, hey, out of this list of top 10, here's number 1. Please do more of this with me, it really helps me. And if they have their profile, same thing. What can I do more of with you? What should I do less of with you so that we get along better? Let's communicate in advance of when we need to communicate about content so that we become more effective. The graphs, by the way, and I'll just